Today, let's continue chatting about Taiwan, folks. Before I bid farewell to Taiwan, I spent my last night attending a gathering of intellectuals in Taipei. What can be said about these intellectuals? There were people who make documentaries, make music, and some folks who have previously served as the director of the Cultural department in the Taiwanese government. So there we were, gathered at a friend's place, a house brimming with shelves of whiskey, mainly from Taiwan, if you can imagine. As we raised our glasses to the occasion, we found ourselves diving into discussions on Taiwanese cultural phenomena. Amid the chatter, one of my pal's friends turned to me and said, "Zhian, have you seen the new mainland TV series called Blossoms Shanghai?" I had to admit, I hadn't seen it. You see, TV shows can be a bit time-consuming, especially ones with 20 or so episodes. I just don't have that kind of time. But he insisted, saying it was really worth a watch. He suggested I give it a try. As we delved further into this topic, I posed this question. Take a look at Taiwan, an island where freedom of speech is cherished. In theory, there aren't many taboos regarding creative endeavors. On the other hand, mainland China is a place where speech is tightly controlled. In reality, all artists and writers there face immense pressure from censorship. Crossing the so-called red line could lead to irreversible consequences. This fact is well known. However, despite these massive systemic differences, mainland China's TV and creative industry still managed to produce some quality works from time to time. Taiwan, a society that embraces freedom of speech, has seemingly failed to produce influential works either internationally or within the Chinese community for many years now. Why is that? As soon as this issue was raised, everyone started chattering away, discussing back and forth. In the end, they told me that it basically boiled down to 2 points. First off, one must be aware that the present creative industry in Taiwan isn't free from ideological influence. It's certainly there. You could, for example, consider the Golden Horse Awards. For instance, he pointed out that the judges who had already completed the voting were told not to let the award go to a Chinese person. This did not sit well with the judges, who argued that if the process is open to everyone in the Chinese market, then the results must be respected, even if they end up not being favorable. This is why Ong Li later suggested installing cameras during the selection process as a way to oppose such control. If you're not going to be open, then don't claim to be. If you're going to be open, then you need to respect the results, so my friend said. There is indeed a subtle form of ideological control at play. This was his first point. Moving on to the second point, he highlighted the way subsidies have disrupted the creative market in Taiwan in recent years. A myriad of subsidies have caused these creators to create works not with the market in mind, but instead to secure these subsidies. As a result, these cultural creatives have gradually lost their sharpness for market trends. They don't live for the market anymore, just for the subsidies. It's truly a shame, but I can't shake the feeling that our conversation that day was somehow incomplete. Let me bring up another issue. Why is it that Taiwan, a society famed for its freedom of speech, hasn't fostered media giants akin to CNN or the Wall Street Journal? Instead, what we've seen over the years is a dramatic decline in Taiwan's media market, to the point where mainstream international media barely takes Taiwan's media outlets seriously. Just as I said in my appearance on the Night Night Show with Hello, nowadays, people from the mainland treat Taiwanese media much like a form of entertainment. Interestingly enough, this is also the case with the Taiwanese people themselves. On the flip side, mainland China, a society recognized for its strict control over speech, including its media, occasionally produces deep investigative reports. Why is this so? It's an intriguing contrast, isn't it? Mainland China, a tightly controlled market, and Taiwan, a market with virtually no legal control, both reveal outcomes that don't quite align with their respective systems, whether it's the media or the cultural creations. Why was I silenced by the Democratic Progressive Party government this time? The answer is tied to what I'm about to share today. The real issue at hand is the prevailing island mentality in Taiwanese society, a hardening disinterest or inability to engage in outside information. That's the issue I aim to address today. Take, for instance, the Taiwanese media. Following certain events, many claimed I was a spy and a major propagandist on their TV shows. However, anyone who has really watched my YouTube channel wouldn't jump to such conclusions. Truth be told, These commentators lack the interest and time to view my content, juggling several gigs a day and merely skimming for like 3 minutes on their phones before spouting their views on air. 3 months ago, I was featured on a show in Taiwan. I wanted to get paid for my appearance because I was wondering about how much the rates were and not because I was eager to cash in. To my surprise, after 2 episodes, I earned a little over 3,000 Taiwanese dollars, hardly 1,000 Chinese RMB. Then it dawned on me, many Taiwanese hosts run multiple shows a day, working for such meager returns. I feel this has led to a decline in media quality, with short-lived news cycles focused on the latest 3-day scoop. It's a bit gloomy because they don't have the time to do as much in-depth fact-checking. This is just one manifestation of the island's isolationist mindset, with little interest or capacity to acquire external information. In the grand scheme of the creative process, having an open-minded perspective is key. It's about who you compare yourself with and where you draw inspiration from. When I was in Taiwan, I once heard someone say that although Taiwan has broken away from the concept of one China and the so-called Chinese consciousness, it has embraced the world, expanding its stage. This statement really resonated with me. Once upon a time, Taiwan was seen as a lonely orphan under China, but has today's Taiwan truly emerged from the shadows of its Chinese roots to become a part of the global community? Not quite. Despite its freedom of speech, Taiwan's closed-off information flow has not given it an advantage in cultural and media creation. Instead, it has turned into an echo chamber where information circulates among like-minded people, creating a comfort zone of shared ideas. During my trip to Taiwan, I spoke with a journalist who once worked in mainland China. He revealed that Taiwanese journalists in China focus chiefly on Taiwanese news and related mainland affairs like Taiwan Affairs Office briefings or events involving Taiwanese businesses. However, they typically ignore all other news, especially local events. He attributed this partly to financial constraints. Taiwanese media outlets don't have the budget to support their reporters in mainland China to cover local societal news. He stated that gradually, Taiwanese journalists stationed in mainland China have become accustomed to notifying local Taiwanese-operated offices about their reporting trips related to Taiwanese news. These offices then arrange their accommodations and meals. It's as simple as that. Over time, Taiwanese media have grown accustomed to accepting these arrangements, much like Chinese media. I was particularly heartbroken when I heard this, because once people in the media lose their independence, how can they maintain their values in independent reporting? What's more shocking is that even Taiwanese media, despite being in mainland China, have lost interest in all local news. Isn't this what we would classify as having an island mentality? One other thing I've noticed when interacting with Taiwan's media personnel is their inherent sense of superiority, stemming from the belief that they live in a free speech society, while I come from an authoritarian one. They seem convinced that they surpass me in every aspect due to this perceived advantage. But I want to highlight that despite the pressure Chinese media has faced, it has bred many outstanding journalists even under these restrictions. Taiwan's media, on the other hand, lacks any significant international influence. To me, this is a manifestation of their island mentality. My words might not sit well with many in Taiwan, but it's crucial that I speak out today. The reason? This island mindset is significantly detrimental to Taiwan. But what led to its development? In my view, there are several reasons for the current situation. Primarily, it is due to the Chinese Communist Party's relentless pressure on Taiwan over the years. As the number of countries recognizing the Republic of China dwindles, international communities fear China's power and avoid official relations with Taiwan. Consequently, Taiwan's struggle to assert itself as a sovereign nation becomes increasingly difficult, despite cultural exchanges and other interactions. The lack of a respectable international status often impedes Taiwan's progress. In the face of the CCP's colossal threat, Taiwan, with its limited territory, has no choice but to respond. They believe that echoing the one China policy, like the Kuomintang, would lead to Taiwan's downfall due to its size. The DPP views one China as the People's Republic of China and not Taiwan. They fear the CCP but mitigate this fear by asserting Taiwan's independence, severing ties with China and even Chinese culture in hopes of achieving security. However, this could potentially lead to Taiwan becoming an isolated island. Do you recall the young woman I interviewed at the Democratic Progressive Party's gathering in Taiwan? The words she shared have sparked a huge online debate. In fact, some argue that being a Taiwanese and a Chinese are not mutually exclusive. One can identify as both.
I find it unacceptable.
Why is that?
No one should feel that they are both American and British, right?
But you can identify as being from both Taipei and Taiwan, for example.
Of course, I'm Taiwanese, and yes, I'm also from Taipei. Taipei is not a country. Is Taipei a country in Taiwan?
Then Miaoli is practically independent, right?
Miaoli's independence is a political joke just for us Taiwanese.
Right.
Only those from Taiwan can truly understand. It's something only someone from Taipei would get. Neihu is also a country.
Really?
Same thing for Tianhu?
That's right. Tianhu is also a country. Yeah, that's right.
Why does it seem like you have such a strong prejudice against Chinese peoples?
Actually, I don't harbor any resentment towards China. But in reality, China after the June 4th incident, the June 4th Tiananmen uprising, as well as after having undergone the Cultural Revolution, their culture has already been completely eradicated. Coupled with all the policies of Xi Jinping among others, as well as all the policies on TikTok, in reality, the youth of today have already been brainwashed. This is party-state education. Since childhood, including my family, we were also raised under party-state education. China and its Communist Party are inseparable. The party is a shared endeavor of all Chinese people. Chinese people are synonymous with the CCP. There's no way they can be separated. Every Chinese person represents the CCP. If the Chinese are to embrace democratic ideas, who knows how many years will have gone by till then. Let them awaken themselves. Don't come bring Taiwan down.
But actually, many people from mainland China aren't necessarily fond of the Chinese Communist Party's rule.
I don't care. That's their own problem. However they choose to run, however they escape, that's their business. That's their country's business. I'm only concerned with Taiwan's domestic affairs. Thanks for the interview.
In Taiwan, many DPP supporters believe they have no ties to China, and what China does, be it dictatorship or democracy, doesn't concern them as long as they're not threatened. Some argue the Republic of China only exists in Kinmen. And if the CCP wants unification, they can have Kinmen. Just leave the rest of Taiwan be. But what I'm asking is, would the Chinese Communist Party only take Kinmen? I doubt it. If they were to act against Taiwan, they'd take all of Taiwan, not just Kinmen. This is the very real threat Taiwan faces today. So my recent treatment by the Taiwanese government, in my opinion, is the result of their island mentality. Frankly, if an American said what I did, it wouldn't be a big deal. But because I hold a People's Republic of China passport, my comments on a Taiwanese TV show were hard for them to accept. Why? Because they don't want any association with the People's Republic of China. Even if someone like me, a refugee journalist, said this on a television program in Taiwan, at this moment, Taiwan's government would find it unacceptable. Why? Because they inherently believe that Taiwan is Taiwan and China is China, and they don't want any relationship with me. In fact, this criticism of Taiwanese society has already constituted a certain connection between China and Taiwan in the eyes of the Democratic Progressive Party government, a connection that they do not like to see at all, and even say they absolutely cannot accept, hence the reason for this so-called thunderous punishment. I've said a lot, but my point isn't to simply criticize Taiwan. I want to highlight that the island mentality is harmful to its cultural competitiveness and places Taiwan in danger. Showing disinterest in external information could lead to the misinterpretation of global events. Are Taiwanese also Chinese?
No way. How could the Taiwanese be Chinese?
So, they're not Chinese at all.
How could they be Chinese, right? Our history spans 400 years. Really? Then what about Singaporeans? Would you say they're Chinese?
So, do you think Taiwan is the same as Singapore?
Of course we do. Our currency is the new Taiwan dollar, okay? We don't use RMB.
But the Republic of China is written on all banknotes.
Yeah, Taiwan. These are from the Bank of Taiwan. The Bank of Taiwan. Does the name contain China at all? Nope. It's the Bank of Taiwan.
The Bank of Taiwan.
Right, it's the Bank of Taiwan.
Before, it was called Bank of China.
Let's have a look. Where in the name Bank of Taiwan do you see Republic of China? It used to be like this before too. It's always said Taiwan.
Up until now, it's always been Bank of Taiwan.
This is called the new Taiwan dollar. This has it on it. It says Bank of Taiwan, right? That's right. It's our own. The Bank of Taiwan. There is no Bank of the Republic of China. It's the Bank of Taiwan.
It says the central bank. The central bank.
Right. The Central Bank of Taiwan.
It's referring to Taiwan, okay? It's Taiwan.
Isn't this just called the central bank then?
But it's the Central Bank of Taiwan.
It doesn't say Bank of Taiwan on this.
Okay, then what about our passports? Aren't our passports better? Or are Chinese passports better?
Of course, Taiwan's passports are better.
Of course. Yeah, you're right.
It's crucial to consider the possibility of me being misjudged as a supposed secret agent, a spy, or a major foreign propagandist. While this may not pose a significant risk to Taiwan society, the existence of this perception and the decline in discernment could lead to major misjudgments on more important matters. That's the first point. The more crucial point is that this isolated mindset might eventually lead to a loss of sympathy from the mainland folk towards Taiwan society. I always state that the real sense of security for Taiwan society comes from the understanding and support of 1.4 billion people. That is, Taiwan should strive to be the pride of the Chinese people. Many in Taiwan say they're not the pride of the Chinese, have no obligation to be, and that's true. But remember, your survival depends on being that pride. If you don't want to identify as Chinese or be a light for mainland China, you're putting yourself in great danger. When I was interviewed in Taiwan, I often proposed this scenario. Suppose the roles of Taiwan and mainland China were reversed. Imagine the Chinese Communist Party as an isolated dictatorship situated in Taiwan and the mainland as a democracy. If mainland China wanted to unify with Taiwan under these circumstances, who would the international community support? Take North Korea and South Korea as an example. There's no doubt the international community would support the Democratic Party. The point is, Taiwan's ability to garner international support, particularly on moral grounds, is due to its commitment to democracy and freedom. This democratic and free system has earned the sympathy of the international community, which does not want Taiwan to be forcibly unified by the mainland. This is Taiwan's true national defense. If Taiwan were to isolate itself, becoming a so-called enclosed society that rejects outsiders, it would lose the recognition and sympathy it gets from the international community for its democratic system. This is similar to how mainland Chinese people lost faith in Taiwan society when they saw me, a reporter, being silenced despite previously admiring Taiwan's democratic and free electoral system. Now, even Taiwanese internet users are discussing unification with mainland China since they see no difference between the Green Communist Party in Taiwan and the Communist Party in mainland China. This is the real harm that isolationist mentality inflicts on Taiwan society. I pointed out the unimpressive nature of Taiwanese politicians during my chat with Fan Chifei in Taiwan, because they don't speak the truth to their voters about the real situation in Taiwan today. They're political leaders with an island mentality, oblivious to the bigger picture. They're aware of the constant threat from the Communist Party of China and that Taiwan realistically can't declare independence. But they don't have the guts to tell their constituents the truth, opting to mislead them with vague statements. I believe Taiwanese politicians today are indeed born out of this island mentality. Look at it this way. Taiwanese politicians are refusing the 1992 consensus, but can't come up with a negotiation strategy against the CCP. Most party leaders don't have a plan for reconciliation, but who's really at risk without one? Taiwan or the mainland? Seems like these leaders are just playing the election game, not caring about the aftermath. Their tunnel visioning, this island mentality, hinders them from making choices that could truly benefit Taiwan when facing actual threats. So I truly hope with today's show, Taiwan can step beyond its isolation and truly shine as a beacon in the Chinese community, embracing the world and displaying its competitive strength in the free speech and creative market. If so, the 1.4 billion mainlanders might say, look how well Taiwan is doing, let's maintain the status quo and not resort to force. This is where Taiwan's true sense of security lies. That's all for today. Thanks everyone. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The State of Play in China, for more insider stories about China you won't find anywhere else. See you next time. this just called the central bank then?
But it's the Central Bank of Taiwan.
It doesn't say Bank of Taiwan on this.
Okay, then what about our passports? Aren't our passports better? Or are Chinese passports better?
Of course, Taiwan's passports are better.
Of course. Yeah, you're right.
China and its Communist Party are inseparable. The party is a shared endeavor of all Chinese people. Chinese people are synonymous with the CCP. There's no way they can be separated. Every Chinese person represents the CCP. If the Chinese are to embrace democratic ideas, who knows how many years will have gone by till then. Let them awaken themselves. Don't come bring Taiwan down.
But actually,